Imagine you're standing in front of a vending machine. You put your money in, you press the button for your favorite drink, and you wait. The machine buzzes, the coil turns halfway, and then it stops. Your drink is stuck. What do? Do you shrug your shoulders, accept the loss of your money, and walk away calmly? No. You press the button again. You press it harder. You might even shake the machine or kick it. You escalate your behavior because the expected reward did not arrive. You're not crazy. You're simply a biological organism reacting to a sudden change in the rules of engagement. This reaction is not a choice. It is a reflex. Now, apply this same logic to your relationships. You have decided to set a boundary. You have decided that you will no longer tolerate disrespect, drama, or emotional volatility. You stop responding to the chaotic texts. You stop apologizing when you have done nothing wrong. You stand firm in your frame. You expect that your calm, stoic demeanor will bring peace to the relationship. You expect the other person to realize their mistake and correct their behavior immediately. But that is not what happens. Instead of peace, you get war. The drama intensifies. The accusations become wilder. The emotional pressure skyrockets. You panic. You think you have made a mistake. You think your silence is destroying the connection. So, you cave in. You apologize. You give the validation she is screaming for. And in doing so, you have just taught the machine that if it doesn't dispense the reward immediately, it simply needs to be kicked harder. You have not fixed the problem. You have reinforced the pathology. This is the trap of the extinction burst. Understanding this mechanism is the difference between a man who commands respect and a man who is perpetually held hostage by emotional chaos.
To understand why this happens, we must look at behavioral psychology, specifically the work surrounding operant conditioning. Behavior is driven by consequences. If an action produces a reward, the action is repeated. In the context of a relationship, the reward is usually your attention, your emotional reaction, or your compliance. If she starts an argument and you immediately drop your boundaries to comfort her or defend yourself, the argument has been rewarded. Your reaction is the dopamine hit. It confirms that the strategy works. But what happens when you remove the reward? This is where the concept of extinction comes in. In psychology, extinction is the process of eliminating a behavior by refusing to reinforce it. However, the behavior does not simply vanish the moment you stop rewarding it. The brain resists the change. When the expected reward, your validation, is withheld, the brain assumes that the effort exerted was simply insufficient. It signals the organism to try harder. This temporary, often violent spike in the frequency and intensity of the unwanted behavior is called the extinction burst. This is why she gets worse before she stops. It is not necessarily because she hates you. It is not necessarily because the relationship is doomed. It is because you have changed the variable in the equation, and she is frantically trying to solve for X using the old methods. She is kicking the vending machine because, for the last 6 months or 6 years, the machine always gave her what she wanted when she pressed the button. The intensity of this burst depends heavily on your past behavior. If you have been a man of weak boundaries, a man who says no, but eventually says yes after enough nagging or guilt tripping, you have created a dynamic known as intermittent reinforcement. This is the same psychological principle that makes slot machines addictive. Because the reward is unpredictable, sometimes you hold frame, sometimes you collapse, the subject learns that persistence is the key. If you have caved in the past, her brain knows that there is a breaking point. The extinction burst will be intense because she is subconsciously calculating how much pressure is required to find that breaking point again. When you enter the testing phase, the reality of this dynamic can be brutal. You might decide to stop double texting. You decide that you are high value and you will not chase. You wait. The silence stretches out. The extinction burst here often manifests as a provocation. She might send a text that is deliberately designed to trigger your insecurity or your anger. She might accuse you of not caring. She might post something on social media designed to make you jealous. These are not random acts. These are diagnostic tests. She is checking the machine to see if it is still plugged in. If you react emotionally to these provocations, you reset the clock. Worse, you teach her that the price of your attention has gone up. Before, she only had to be a little annoying to get your focus. Now, because you tried to be stoic and failed, she learns that she has to be extremely toxic to get a reaction. You are essentially training her to be more difficult. This is how crazy behavior is manufactured. It is often co-created by a man who has no backbone and reinforces the very drama he claims to hate. Consider the scenario of the argument. You have decided you will no longer engage in circular, heated debates that go nowhere. She starts raising her voice. You remain calm. You state your point once and refuse to argue further. The extinction burst predicts that she will not simply quiet down. She will likely get louder. She may say things that are deeply hurtful, targeting your specific insecurities. She may threaten to leave. She may cry.
This is the peak of the spike. This is the moment where the kick to the vending machine is hardest. Most men view this escalation as a sign of failure. They think, my stoicism is making her unhappy. I need to fix this. They interpret the biological reflex of frustration as a moral judgment on their character. This is the frame collapse. You abandon your position to soothe the chaos. The moment you do that, the extinction burst has succeeded. You have confirmed that your boundaries are permeable. You have proven that you are not a solid wall, but a door that can be kicked open if one hits it hard enough. To survive the extinction burst, you must fundamentally change how you view this escalation. You must stop viewing it as a crisis and start viewing it as data. The spike in behavior is not a sign that you are wrong. It is a sign that your new boundary is being felt. It is confirmation that the old neural pathways are firing in a panic because they are being starved of oxygen. The louder the scream, the closer the bad habit is to dying. You need to adopt the mindset of a storm watcher. When a meteorologist sees a hurricane forming on the radar, he does not panic. He does not take the wind personally. He observes the data. He prepares the infrastructure. He waits it out. You must look at her behavior through this same lens of detachment. When the drama spikes, do not say to yourself, "She is attacking me." Say to yourself, "Here is the burst. I expected this. This is the biology of frustration playing out." This detachment is not about being cold or unfeeling toward the person you care about. It is about being the rock that they can crash against without moving. A woman cannot respect a man she can emotionally dismantle with a few words. If she can hijack your nervous system, she owns you. By holding your frame during the extinction burst, you are communicating a message far more powerful than any words could convey. You are communicating that your reality is stable. You are communicating that you are safe because you are consistent. There are safe, practical ways to navigate this storm without losing your mind. The first is to internalize the rule. I do not negotiate with terrorists. This is a metaphor for your internal state. You do not negotiate your peace of mind with emotional volatility.
If the interaction becomes disrespectful or chaotic, you withdraw your attention. You do not storm off in a huff. That is a reaction. You calmly state, "I am not going to continue this conversation while emotions are this high. We can talk later." And then, this is the critical part, you must actually disengage. During this period of disengagement, you will feel the urge to fix it. You will feel the chemical withdrawal of the validation addiction. This is where you must divert that energy. Do not sit and stare at your phone. Do not pace around the room rehearsing arguments. Pour that energy into your mission. Go to the gym and lift until your physical exhaustion overrides your mental anxiety. Work on your business. Read. The practice here is to prove to your own brain that you are an autonomous entity, not a satellite orbiting her emotional state. Another powerful tool is to keep a log. This sounds clinical, but it is necessary for maintaining your sanity. When you are in the middle of the storm, it feels like it will last forever. But if you track the intensity of the drama, you will see the curve. Day 1 of setting the boundary might be a 10 out of 10 on the chaos scale. Day 2 might be an 8. Day 3 might be a spike back up to 9, the spontaneous recovery, before dropping to a 4. Seeing this data on paper separates you from the emotion. It turns the conflict into a graph. It allows your prefrontal cortex to stay in charge while your limbic system screams for safety. You must also differentiate between an extinction burst and genuine incompatibility. An extinction burst is a temporary spike, followed by a decline in the behavior as the person realizes the old strategy no longer works. If you hold the line for weeks or months and the disrespect does not diminish, or if it escalates to physical danger or genuine abuse, you are not dealing with a behavioral spike. You are dealing with a person who is fundamentally unwilling to respect you. In that case, the only move left is the ultimate withdrawal of attention, ending the relationship. But you will never know the difference if you never hold the line long enough to see the burst subside. The tragedy of the modern male is that he has been conditioned to believe that keeping a woman happy means acquiescing to her every emotional shift. He believes that friction is failure. The reality is that friction is necessary for traction. You cannot move forward without it. The extinction burst is that friction. It is the heat generated when two realities rub against each other. The reality where she runs the show, and the reality where you stand in your power. When you weather the storm, something shifts. The noise stops. The vending machine realizes that no amount of kicking will produce the soda. The brain rewires. It begins to look for new strategies to get the reward. And if the only behavior you reward is respect, calmness, and affection, then that is the behavior that will eventually replace the chaos. You teach people how to treat you. You've been teaching them for years, perhaps unintentionally, that you can be bullied or manipulated. Now you are teaching a new lesson. The lesson is painful at first. Change always is. But the peace you find on the other side of the extinction burst is the only peace that is real. Everything else is just an appeasement strategy, a temporary ceasefire that will be broken the moment you step out of line again. Do not settle for a ceasefire. Aim for a new order. So the next time the chaos spikes, the next time the texts flood in, the next time the voice creates a wall of sound designed to break your will, do not flinch. Do not kick the machine back. Stand still. Watch the storm. Let it rain. Let it thunder. And know that the violence of the storm is simply the sound of the old dynamic dying. Ask yourself this. Are you strong enough to let the old version of your relationship die so that a better one can be born? Or will you rush in to save the very thing that is making you miserable? The choice is yours.